A reflection for the 8th Sunday after Pentecost. Praise be Jesus Christ, now and forever. Today's Gospel is taken from Luke 16. And he said also to his disciples, there was a certain rich man who had a steward, and the same was accused unto him that he had wasted his goods. And he called him and said to him, How is it that I hear this of thee? Give an account of thy stewardship, for now thou canst be steward no longer. And the steward said within himself, What shall I do, because my Lord taketh away from me the stewardship? To dig I am not able, to beg I am ashamed. I know what I will do, that when I shall be removed from the stewardship, they may receive me into their houses. Therefore, calling together every one of his Lord's debtors, he said to the first, How much dost thou owe my Lord? But he said, 100 barrels of oil. And he said to him, Take thy bill and sit down quickly and write 50. Then he said to another, And how much dost thou owe? To whom said, 100 quarters of wheat. He said to him, Take thy bill and write 80. And the Lord commended the unjust steward, for as much as he had done wisely. For the children of this world are wiser in their generation than the children of light. And I say to you, make unto you friends of the mammon of iniquity, that when you shall fail, they may receive you into the everlasting dwellings. The unjust steward, it's worth listening to the whole of the story because there's an alternative meaning which we can find in it tonight. We have a number of parables clustered together in St. Luke. In chapter 15, we read about the lost sheep on the hillside, followed by the lost coin and then the prodigal son. All those are about divine love. The divine Son of God assures us that the Father will seek us out in whatever tangle of sin we have found ourselves. So much so that human nature being what it is, we might begin to relax and think that this Christian life is a bit of a breeze. We might become presumptuous. Perhaps some of our Lord's audience thought like that. As well as the Pharisees and the scribes, we know that from the start of this cluster of parables, there were tax collectors and sinners. Tax collectors need to be shrewd operators, not taking the accounts at face value. And clever merchants, well, they may well have been in the crowd too. This parable, however, isn't as reassuring as the others. The steward is going to be sacked. He's in the process of being sacked. If we try to interpret it, he's going to lose his place in the kingdom of heaven. Perhaps he begins to think of the treasures, the wealth which he has handled as being his. Some of it has begun to stick to his fingers, and he is called to account. It happens all the time. Whatever we have, be it wealth, be it good health, be it youth, many years ahead of us, we think, be it good looks, a rewarding career, a lovely family, these things are entrusted to us by the Lord for the increase of the kingdom. When we treat them as our own, not belonging to the Master, we're in for a rude awakening. Saint Gaudentius, Bishop of Brescia, consecrated by St. Ambrose, no less, in year 387, has a rather shocking interpretation of this parable. I am of the opinion, he says, that the unjust steward stands for the devil. Well, he has wasted his master's goods. He's been sacked for a reason. And the devil wasted the substance of his Lord when he sought the ruin of mankind, that is our death, who are the possession of God. Perhaps we need to be reminded that the devil is our enemy, and that he will waste us, destroy our salvation if he can. But also we can take from this that we are the inheritance from God the Father to the Son. What a wonderful thing. We read in Psalm 2, yes, the Old Testament, where the Father addresses his Son. Thou art my Son, this day have I begotten thee. Ask of me, and I will give thee the Gentiles for thy inheritance. What a tremendous thought. God, the Lord of all, views us as his treasure to be passed down to his Son. And the devil is out to disrupt that. We indeed are the debtors in this parable. We owe the master more than we can pay. That debt is sin. If the master were to call us to account today, would we be found unable to repay? Are we going to default on the mortgage? Will he foreclose and send us to our just deserts? Hell. Notice that one of the things that was owed was 100 barrels of oil. Well, today, that would be worth an awful lot more, wouldn't it? Let's divide it in two. Before we come to our judgment, the devil comes to us and offers to reduce what we owe. But that cancellation is a deceit. It's a paper exercise. He has no right to do it. All the master has to do is come along and say, well, I didn't sign that. He's cancelled it, but I'm not. The devil cannot cancel even one iota of our debt to the just judge. He might, of course, make the guilt feel a little less burdensome. But if we go along with him, he's going to have power over the debtors, you and me. It's under the pretext of benevolence, deceiving with smooth words. Quotation from our saint again. So that seduced by his false kindness, they may more readily receive him into their home houses, since together with him they must be judged forever. What a terrifying thought. Yes, we can be deceived by this proposal of the devil. Smooth talking. And therefore we might receive him into our houses. We've got to remember that the devil has been dismissed. He has been flung down, but he's looking for a home in our lives. He believes that it would be a great alleviation of his torments to find as many sharers as possible of the hell he justly deserves. He's mistaken in that regard. But you see the motivation. You see that desire for revenge to bring us down, those who have been chosen by God. Ask yourself, when I fall into temptation, am I trying to blot out the thought of the debt I already owe because of my sin? Pile one debt on top of another, like a gambler making another throw of the dice when he's already up to his neck in debt. Do I realize that it is just making things worse? The curious aspect of the parable is that the master dismisses the steward, but before he leaves, he has time to dissipate the Lord's goods even more. He might be working out his notice. And that fits very well with what we know of the devil. We read in Revelation chapter 12, there was a great battle in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon. And the dragon fought and his angels, and they prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. A few verses later on, therefore rejoice, O heavens, and you that dwell therein. Woe to the earth and to the sea, because the devil has come down upon you, having great wrath, knowing that he hath but a short time. God has dismissed, as it were, the devil. When the devil first said non serviam, when he rebelled. But God has allowed him to continue, even though he knew that the devil would continue to waste the treasure, i.e. us. That is the period we are in now. At the end of time, the devil will be definitively consigned to hell with his demons and those humans who reject God. Let us console ourselves with the knowledge that the battle has been won, the devil thrown down by St. Michael. And yet, his time is there, but it is short. Meanwhile, how do we respond to the evil one whose time is short? In the parable, the debtors readily connive with the unjust steward, as though the master would be fooled. Do we perhaps sometimes do that in confession? Giving lots of excuses, finding a way around stating things clearly. The master will not be fooled. This is not the way to be relieved of the weight of sin on our conscience. We must go to our Master and Lord in the confessional, as it were, and spread before him the bills we cannot pay with our own merits, and we plead mercy. And he, pointing at the cross and the blood streaming from his wounds, will cancel the debt and make us fit to be that treasure, the inheritance from the Father to the Son himself. Praise be Jesus Christ, now and forever.